A great while ago, when the world was full of wonders, there was an old woman that lived happily in a small, quiet house. But the woman was not content with her little home. She felt it too small and longed for a large house with many rooms. The woman went to a wise man from her village to ask him what to do. The wise man thought for a moment. Then he asked, "Do you have chickens?" "Of course I have chickens," said the old woman. "Bring them into the house," said the wise man. The old woman was confused, but knew the wise man to be very wise indeed, so she brought all her chickens to live inside the house with her. But it was no less crowded and now was noisy, with the clucking and pecking and flapping of wings. The old woman went back to the wise man. "I did what you said, wise man. Now with my chickens too, it is really crowded in the house." The wise man thought for a moment. Then he asked, "Do you have any sheep?" "Of course I have sheep," said the old woman. "Bring them into the house," said the wise man. The old woman was confused, but knew the wise man to be very wise indeed. She brought all the sheep from her field to live inside the house. It was no less crowded and noisy. In fact, it was much worse, with the chickens clucking and flapping their wings, and the sheep baaing and butting their heads against the walls and one another. The next day, the old woman went back to the wise man. "I did what you said, wise man, and now I have no place to sleep because the chickens have taken my bed. The sheep are sticking their heads into everything and making a lot of noise." The wise man thought. He looked very puzzled. Then he said, "Aha! You must have some cows." "Of course I have cows," said the old woman. "Bring them into the house," said the wise man. The old woman knew the wise man to be very wise indeed, so she brought her cows inside. It was no less crowded and noisy. In fact, it was much, much worse. The chickens were clucking and flapping their wings. The sheep were baaing and butting their heads. Now the cows were mooing too. The house was loud and full and was starting to smell like a barn. Completely bewildered, the old woman went back to the wise man. "Wise man," she said, "I have followed your advice. I have done everything you said. Now I have no place to sleep because the chickens are laying eggs in my bed, the sheep are baaing and butting their heads, and the cows are breaking things. The house smells like a barn." The wise man frowned. He closed his eyes and thought for a long time. Finally, he said, "This is what you do. Take the cows back to the barn, take the sheep back to the field, take the chickens back to their coop." The old woman did exactly as the wise man had told her. As she took the animals out of the house, she began to tidy up the rooms. By the time the last chicken was settled in her coop, the house looked quite nice, and it was quiet, and the old woman agreed that her house was the most spacious, peaceful, and comfortable home anywhere.